Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello children, welcome to the session. In this session, we are going to do a few question and answers from the topic that we have covered so far. So children, the first question on your screens is, what are the basic units for measuring time? What are the basic units for measuring time? So children, the standard unit for measuring time is second, and it is usually expressed by small s, whereas the bigger units of time are minute, hours, day, month, or even year. Okay, some of the clocks, children, can measure the time intervals as small as 1 millionth, okay, or even 1 billionth of the second. And children, 1 millionth of the second is known as 1 microsecond, whereas 1 billionth of the second is known as a nanosecond. Okay, so these are the basic units for measuring time. So let's move to the next question, children. We have a simple pendulum which takes 32 seconds to complete 20 oscillations, and you have to calculate the time period of the pendulum. And we know how do we calculate the time period, children? We calculate the time period by dividing the time taken to complete oscillations divided by the number of oscillations. Time taken divided by the number of oscillations. And this time taken is of the number of oscillations that it is that we are noting down. Okay, so it is taking 32 seconds. 32 divided by 20. Okay guys, 32 divided by 20. So it is 1.6. So the time period is 1.6. Okay, this is the answer to this question. Let's move to the next question, children. How were people able to measure the time in ancient time without clocks? So children, they had their own ways to measure the time. For example, they noticed certain phenomena that are occurring naturally, and they tried to relate to it. For example, they measured a day as the time interval between one sunrise and one sunset. Okay, it is the this is how they measured a day. And how did they measure a month? They measured a month with by observing new moon day. So the time interval between one new moon to the next new moon, they called it as 1 month. Okay, then children, for an year they used the time interval. The earth takes the time taken by earth to complete one revolution around the sun. Okay, then children, they also had some other measures, like they had sundials. Okay, sundials which made use of the shadow at different time, at different hours of the day, when sun is moving and it is casting the shadow. Okay, and so they used it for the measuring the time. Then they used sand clock, which we commonly know as hourglass, right? So it depended upon the amount of sand which took some time, the fixed certain interval of time, to pass through this narrow passage. Okay, so these were some of the measures how people in ancient time used to measure the time intervals. Okay, so let's move to the next question. So on what factors time period of the pendulum depends? So children, time period depends on the length of the string used. Okay, this is very important. Time period depends upon the length of the string. Then time period of the simple pendulum does not depends upon the mass of the bob. Time period of the pendulum does not depend on the extent to which the bob of the pendulum is displaced. So it is independent of it does not matter from which height you are releasing the bob. Okay, so it is independent of it. Next question, which is, give an activity to show that the time period is independent of the mass of the pendulum. For this activity, what you are going to do is, children, you will take a string of fixed length and you will place a metallic bob over here and try to measure the time interval. You can take 3 or 4 readings, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you will observe in each case the time interval comes out to be same. Now you have to keep the string of same length, and you have to attach some other bob. Maybe you can even attach a stone and then displace it and measure the time interval. Take some readings, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and suppose you have noted down 4 readings, and you will find out you will find out that even when the bob was changed, the time interval came out to be same. So we can say that the time period is independent of the mass of the bob of the pendulum. Okay children, so these were all of the questions from the session, the topic that we have covered so far. So thank you so much for your attention.